Look, I have been working security on orbital station Kessler for about 6 cycles now, and I thought I had seen everything. My name is Vorn, and I am a Krellian. That means I stand about 2 meters tall, have 4 arms, scales thick enough to stop most projectiles, and enough combat training to handle anything short of a full battle mech. I have broken up fights between drunk Vaxian pirates, stopped smuggling rings, and once talked down a hive mind splinter group that wanted to assimilate the entire food court. But nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, prepared me for the day Captain Jade Voss walked onto my station. The morning started normal enough. Well, as normal as things get when you are managing a trading hub with about 47 different species, half of whom want to eat the other half. I was doing my usual rounds, checking the docking manifests, making sure nobody was trying to sneak in anything too explosive or too alive. That is when I got the for you there. It was my second officer, a Quilnari named Fip. Quilnari are small, furry, with big eyes and bigger ears. Prey species through and through. Fip was good at his job though, even if he jumped at every loud noise. What is it, Fip? We have got an incoming ship, independent freighter. Registry says it is the Brass Phoenix, captain listed as human. I felt my dorsal spines twitch. A human? We did not get many humans out this far. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council about 20 cycles ago, and most humans stuck to their own sector. The ones who did venture out were usually either scientists who talked too much or merchants who smiled too much. Either way, they were harmless. Solo operator? I asked. Looks like it. Just one life sign on board. That was odd. Most species did not do well alone in deep space. But humans, well, humans were weird about a lot of things. I had read the briefings. Death World species. Earth was classified as a Class 12 hazard zone, which meant it was barely suitable for life, and yet humans thrived there. But the reports said they were mostly peaceful, adaptable, and had a strange fondness for making friends with anything that moved. Clear her for docking. Bay 7. Copy that. I went back to my rounds, thinking nothing of it. Big mistake. About an hour later, I was in the main concourse when I felt it. You know that feeling when the temperature drops and your instincts scream that something big and toothy just entered the room? Every predator species has it. Every prey species has it worse. The entire concourse, which had been full of the usual chatter and movement, went quiet. Not silent. Just quiet. Like someone had turned down the volume on reality. I turned toward the entrance from the docking bays. And that is when I saw her. Captain Jade Voss was not particularly tall by galactic standards. Maybe 1.7 meters. She was lean, with dark skin and hair pulled back in a tight braid. She wore a simple flight suit, gray and black, with a tool belt hanging low on her hips. No visible weapons. No armor. Nothing that should have set off every alarm bell in my evolutionary programming. But the way she moved. Oh, by the 7 hells. The way she moved. She walked like she owned the station. No, not owned. Like she had already assessed every potential threat in the room, calculated 17 different ways to neutralize them, and decided none of them were worth the effort. Her eyes scanned the concourse with the kind of casual awareness that would make a Crovelian hunter jealous, and the crowd parted for her. I am not talking about people politely stepping aside. I am talking about a Brulax, a 400-kilogram apex predator from a world where everything is trying to kill you, taking 3 steps backward without even realizing it. I am talking about a pack of Vaxian corsairs, who are basically space pirates with anger management issues, suddenly finding the floor very interesting. A Quilnari merchant, who had been loudly hawking his wares, squeaked and dove under his stall. She noticed. Of course she noticed. Her lips corked up in what might have been amusement, and she kept walking. I should have stopped her. Protocol said any new arrival should check in with station security. But my legs were not cooperating. My scales had flattened against my body, which is what Krellians do when we are trying to look non-threatening. I had not done that since I was a juvenile. She walked right past me, close enough that I could have reached out and touched her. She smelled like ozone and something spicy that I could not identify. When she glanced at me, just a quick flick of her eyes, I felt my secondary heart skip a beat. Then she was gone, heading deeper into the station. The concourse exploded into noise. Did you see that? What was that? Human, I think. Did you see the eyes? Forward-facing. Binocular vision. Oh, stars. She is a hunter. I forced myself to move, tapping my comm. Thip, get up here. He arrived 2 minutes later, looking frazzled. His fur was standing on end, which meant he was stressed. Boss. Did you see her? Hard to miss. Run a background check. Full spectrum. I want to know everything about Captain Jade Voss. Already did. Came up mostly clean. Former Earth military. Special operations. Whatever that means. Discharged with honors. 5 cycles ago. Since then she has been running freight. Legitimate contracts, no complaints. Current cargo manifest said she is carrying agricultural equipment and medical supplies. Military. That explained a lot. And nothing. Keep an eye on her. Discreetly. Thip's ears drooped. Boss, with respect, I do not think there is any way to watch her discreetly. He had a point. I spent the next 2 hours trying to do my job, which was difficult because every time Captain Voss moved through the station, word spread like wildfire. I started getting reports. She went to the trading floor. The Merchant Guild representative, a Thalasian with over 60 cycles of negotiation experience, apparently stammered through their entire transaction. She stopped at a noodle stand run by a Pex couple. The wife, who was known for her aggressive sales tactics and her even more aggressive cooking, gave her extra portions and refused payment. Her husband, who had once threatened to gut a Krellian Marine for complaining about the spice level, smiled so hard I thought his face would crack. She visited the medical bay to drop off her cargo. Dr. Hillix, who was a Salvine and therefore technically a prey species, but had the personality of a particularly grumpy wolverine, actually laughed at something she said. It was surreal. By the time shift change came around, half the station was gossiping about the human, and the other half was hiding from her. I found her in the observation lounge of all places. It was late in the station cycle and the lounge was mostly empty except for a few insomniacs and one extremely drunk Vaxian who was sleeping it off in the corner. She was standing by the viewport looking out at the stars, holding a cup of something that steamed. I approached carefully. Captain Voss? She turned, and that same slight smile appeared. You must be station security. Let me guess. You want to know why everyone is acting weird around me. Her voice was lower than I expected, with a rough quality that suggested either too much shouting or too much smoke. Probably both, given her background. Something like that. She gestured to the empty seat beside her. I sat, keeping my posture open and non-threatening. She sat too, and I noticed she positioned herself so she could see the entire room. Combat instincts. Hard to shake. It is not personal, she said, taking a sip of her drink. It smelled bitter and aggressive, like burnt plants. Humans just tend to make people nervous. Why? Because we are predators, and not the normal kind. I waited. She seemed like the type who would explain if given the space. Most predator species in the galaxy evolved on worlds where being a predator meant being fast, strong, or venomous. You hunt, you kill, you eat, you move on. But Earth? She laughed. And it was not a comfortable sound. Earth is what happens when a planet really, really hates everything living on it. So we did not evolve to be the fastest or the strongest. We evolved to be persistent, stubborn. We can track prey for days. We can survive on almost anything. We can adapt to environments that would kill most species in hours. She took another sip. And we are social. Pack hunters. That is what really freaks people out. Most apex predators hunt alone. We hunt in groups. We plan. We use tools. We communicate. We are cooperative killers. And some deep part of every species' brain recognizes that and goes, "Oh, that is bad, that is very bad, I should not be near that thing." You forgot one thing, I said. What is that? You are aware of it. You know the effect you have, and you do not try to hide it. She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw something flicker in her eyes. Respect. Maybe. Hiding it would be dishonest. And exhausting. I am what I am. If that makes people uncomfortable, they can deal with it or leave. Fair enough. So why are you here? I asked. Kessler Station is not exactly a major hub. We get traders, sure, but mostly small-timers and independents. I am heading to the outer reaches. This was a convenient stop. She paused. And I heard the noodles here were good. Are they? Best I have had in 3 systems. We sat in silence for a moment. It was not uncomfortable. Outside the viewport, a transport ship drifted past, its running lights blinking in the darkness. "How long have you been doing this?" I asked. "The freight running, 5 cycles, like your friend probably told you." "Before that, military." "What made you leave?" "Decided I did not want to take orders anymore, and I was tired of fighting." "So you became a freight hauler. That is quite a change." "You would think so." She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "Turns out the galaxy is full of things that need fighting. Just different kinds of fights." Before I could ask what she meant, my comm chirped. Thip's voice came through, high and panicked. "Boss, we have a situation. Docking Bay 12. I was on my feet instantly. "What kind of situation?" "Hostiles. Armed group. They are trying to breach one of the locked freight containers. They have already taken out the dock workers." I was already running. Behind me I heard Captain Voss set down her cup very carefully. "How many?" she asked. "That is not your concern, Captain." "How many?" Firmer this time. 8, maybe 10. Probably Scarix raiders. They hit stations sometimes looking for high-value cargo." I was tapping my comm, calling for backup. "Stay here. This is station security business." I did not wait for her response. I hit the corridor at a full run, my forearms already reaching for my weapons. 2 other security officers met me at the transit junction, and we headed for the docking bays together. The scene at Bay 12 was bad. 3 dock workers were down, unconscious but breathing. The raiders were clustered around a large cargo container trying to cut through the locks with plasma torches. They were Scarix. All right. Tall, reptilian, with thick hides and bad attitudes. Each one was armed with at least 2 weapons. The leader, identifiable by the red markings on his crest, noticed us and laughed. It was a harsh, barking sound. "Station security. How lovely. Tell me, little Krellian, do you know what is in this container?" "I do not care. You are in violation of about 15 different Galactic Council laws. Stand down and you will only spend a few cycles in detention. Or," he raised a plasma rifle, "or things get unpleasant. For you, maybe." The Scarix opened fire. We dove for cover. Energy bolts scorched the air where we had been standing. My team returned fire, but we were pinned down. The raiders had better positions, better weapons, and more experience with this kind of thing. One of my officers, a young Trilaxian named Kess, took a shot to the shoulder and went down screaming. This was going bad fast. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, measured, deliberate, coming from the corridor behind the raiders. The Scorix leader heard it too. He turned, bringing his weapon up. Captain Jade Voss walked into the docking bay like she was taking a stroll through a park. She was not armed. Her hands were empty, hanging loose at her sides. But the way she moved, the absolute confidence in every step, made her look more dangerous than if she had been carrying a heavy weapons platform. The Scarix leader laughed again. "A human. Oh, this is rich. Do you have any idea who you are dealing with, little mammal?" She stopped about 10 meters from him. "Scorix raiders. Probably the Red Crest clan, based on your markings. You specialize in hit-and-run attacks on under-defended stations, usually going after medical supplies or tech. You avoid major conflicts, you do not take unnecessary risks, and you pride yourselves on being smart enough to know when to retreat." The leader's crest flattened slightly. "You have done your homework. I have. So here is what is going to happen. You are going to put down your weapons, you are going to surrender to station security, and you are going to leave peacefully." The laughter that followed was from all the raiders. One of them, a particularly large Scorix, with scars running down his snout, sneered at her. "And if we do not—" Her smile was terrifying. "Then I am going to hurt you." "You? One human? Against all of us?" "I only need to hurt one of you. The rest will leave." The scarred Scarix raised his weapon. Big words. What happened next took about 5 seconds. Captain Voss moved. One moment she was standing still. The next, she was in motion, and it was like watching water flow. No wasted movement, no hesitation. She closed the distance to the scarred Scarix before he could even pull the trigger, grabbed his weapon arm and twisted. The sound of bones breaking echoed through the bay. The Scorix screamed. She used his momentum to throw him into 2 of his companions. sending all three crashing to the deck. Then she picked up his dropped weapon, checked the charge with a glance, and leveled it at the leader. Anyone else? The remaining raiders looked at their leader. He looked at his three companions on the floor, one of whom was making sounds I did not think Scarix could make. He looked at the human, who was standing there calm as a summer breeze, holding a weapon that was probably too heavy for her species to wield comfortably. She was not even breathing hard. "We surrender," he said quietly. "Smart choice." My team moved in to secure the raiders while I walked over to Captain Voss. She handed me the plasma rifle without comment. "That was," I started, then realized I did not have words. "Necessary," she finished. "They were going to hurt your people. I could not let that happen." "Why not?" "You are not station security. This is not your problem." She looked at me with those forward-facing eyes, and I saw something ancient and wild there. I was military. Remember? I spent years protecting people who could not protect themselves. Old habits. You could have been killed, but I was not. FIP arrived with the medical team. They started treating Kess, while others restrained the raiders. The scarred Scarix was still groaning about his arm. "You broke his arm in 4 places, FIP whispered to me, his eyes wide. "In one move. Do you know how strong you have to be to do that to a Scarix?" Captain Voss overheard. "It is not about strength. It is about leverage and knowing where to apply force. I could teach you if you wanted." FIP squeaked and hid behind me. She smiled, that same slight quirk of her lips, and started walking toward the exit. "Captain Voss," I called. She stopped, looked back. "Thank you." She nodded once, then left. The rest of my shift was spent processing the raiders, filing reports, and answering a lot of questions from station command. By the time I was done, it was well into the next cycle, and I was exhausted. I found Captain Voss back in the observation lounge. She was in the same spot looking out at the stars with a fresh cup of that bitter-smelling drink. I sat down beside her without asking permission. "You know," I said, "what you did was incredibly stupid. Probably. You could have been killed. You mentioned that already, and you do not care." "I care. I just care about other things more." I let that sit for a moment. The cargo container they were trying to open. Do you know what was in it? Medical supplies, I assume. Probably something valuable. Rare medications or surgical equipment. Vaccines. For a colony in the outer reaches. They are dealing with an outbreak of Krellian fever. Without those vaccines, thousands of children will die. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, very softly, "Then I am glad I was here." "Me too." We sat in silence again. This time it felt different, comfortable. "How long are you staying?" I asked. "I leave tomorrow." "Got another cargo run lined up?" "Of course you do." I paused. "You are always going to be like this, are not you? Running toward danger, fighting battles that are not yours." "Probably." "Humans," I muttered. She laughed, and this time it reached her eyes. "We are a handful. I will give you that." The next morning I watched the brass Phoenix depart from the observation deck. The ship was old, beaten up, but well maintained. It lifted off smoothly and accelerated toward the jump point with practiced ease. FIP stood beside me, still looking a little nervous. "Think we will see her again?" "Maybe. The galaxy is big, but it is also small in weird ways. I hope we do. She is terrifying." But he paused, searching for words. "Also kind of amazing." I could not argue with that. 2 cycles later, we got a report from the colony in the outer reaches. The vaccines had arrived safely. The outbreak was contained. Thousands of lives saved, and tucked into the report was a small note. Just a few words. "Thanks for the hospitality. The noodles really were good. Captain Jade Voss." I smiled and filed the report away. "The galaxy is a dangerous place, full of predators and prey, hunters and hunted. But every once in a while you meet someone who reminds you that the most dangerous predators are not always the ones with the biggest teeth or the sharpest claws. Sometimes they are the ones who choose when to use those teeth and claws, and more importantly, when not to." I went back to my rounds, wondering when Captain Jade Voss would pass through Kessler Station again. Because something told me she would, and I found myself looking forward to it. 3 months passed since Captain Jade Voss left Kessler Station, and things went back to normal. Well, mostly normal. The noodle stand saw a 20% increase in business from people hoping to eat where the human ate. The Scorix clan sent a formal apology and a rather substantial compensation package to the station, which was unusual for raiders. Apparently, word had spread about what happened, and they did not want any more trouble with humans. I had almost convinced myself that our encounter with Captain Voss was a one-time thing, a strange moment that would fade into station legend. Then my console lit up with an emergency broadcast. It was early in my shift. I was reviewing supply requisitions and trying to figure out why the sanitation department needed 14 times their usual allotment of industrial solvent. Probably another Galax had gotten loose in the waste systems. Those things multiplied like crazy. The emergency signal came through on all channels simultaneously, which meant it was serious. Really serious. All vessels in the Kessler sector. This is transport vessel Mercy Run broadcasting distress. We are under attack by unknown hostiles. Repeat, we are under attack. We have civilians on board, including children, requesting immediate assistance. My blood went cold. Mercy Run was a refugee transport, registered with the Galactic Council Humanitarian Fleet. Attacking one was not just illegal. It was considered one of the worst crimes in civilized space. You did not attack refugees. That was the line nobody crossed. Vorn, we are picking up the signal, Phipps said, his voice tight. They are only 20 minutes out at standard speeds. Can we scramble a defense wing? The nearest council patrol is 3 hours away. We have got 2 light fighters on station, but they are in maintenance. We have nothing that can help them. I slammed my fist on the console, which did nothing except hurt my hand. Get me a visual on the attackers. The screen flickered to life, showing the Mercy Run surrounded by 6 smaller attack craft. They were firing in patterns, hurting the transport, keeping it from jumping to faster than light speeds. Professional work. These were not random pirates. Then something else appeared on the scanner. A single ship, moving fast, coming from the opposite side of the system. The Brass Phoenix. Is that? Phipps started. Yeah, that is her. I opened a direct channel. Captain Voss. This is Station Security Chief Vorn. That transport has over 200 civilians on board. The attackers are heavily armed. You need to wait for council backup. There was a pause. Then her voice came through, calm and measured. Backup is 3 hours out. That transport will be breached in 15 minutes. I am going in. You will be outgunned 6-1. 7-1 actually. There is another ship hiding in the debris field. I can see it on my scans. Of course she could. Captain Voss, I am ordering you to stand down. With respect, Chief Orn, you do not have jurisdiction over independent vessels in open space. And I am not really good at following orders anymore. Remember? The channel cut out. I watched as the Brass Phoenix accelerated toward the combat zone. It was not a combat vessel. It was a freighter, designed for cargo, not fighting. Going against 7 attack craft was suicide. She is insane, Phip whispered. Yeah, I agreed. She is. What happened next was the most beautiful and terrifying thing I have ever witnessed. The Brass Phoenix did not engage the attackers head-on. Instead, it came in fast and low, using the debris field as cover. The hidden 7th ship tried to intercept, but Captain Voss had already accounted for it. She fired her maneuvering thrusters at full burn, spinning her ship 90 degrees while maintaining forward momentum, a move that should have torn her vessel apart from the stress. The attacker's weapons fire passed through empty space where she should have been. Her return fire was precise. A single shot, perfectly placed, took out the hidden ship's engine core. It went dark and started drifting. 6-1 now, I heard her mutter over the open channel. The other attackers noticed her and broke formation. 3 moved to engage the Brass Phoenix while 3 continued harassing the Mercy Run. Captain Voss launched a spread of what my console identified as standard cargo containers. The attacking ships scattered, probably thinking they were mines. They were not. They were actually cargo containers, empty ones. A distraction. While the attackers were dodging empty boxes, she flipped her ship again and fired a sustained burst at the closest attacker. The shots walked up the hull, precise as a surgeon's scalpel, taking out weapons arrays, sensors, and finally the cockpit. Another ship down. 5-1, Phipps said, his voice filled with awe. The remaining attackers were regrouping, realizing they were dealing with someone who knew what they were doing. They formed a coordinated attack pattern, coming at the brass Phoenix from 3 different angles while 2 continued suppressing the transport. Captain Voss did something I had never seen before. She killed her engines completely. Let her ship drift on momentum while she rotated to face each attacker in turn, firing short, controlled bursts. Her ship became a spinning gun platform, impossible to predict, impossible to target. 2 more attackers took critical damage and withdrew, 3-1 now. The odds are getting better. I realized I was holding my breath. The last 3 attackers must have realized they were dealing with someone way above their pay grade. They fired a final volley at the transport, not trying to disable it, just to do damage, then turned and ran for the jump point. Captain Voss let them go. She could have pursued, probably could have taken them all out, but the transport was venting atmosphere from a dozen hull breaches. Mercy run. This is Captain Jade Voss. I am coming alongside to assist with repairs. You have casualties? The response was shaky but grateful. Multiple injuries, but no fatalities so far. We are losing atmosphere fast though. Understood. Activating docking protocols. Over the next hour I watched as the brass Phoenix attached itself to the damaged transport like a remora on a shark. Captain Voss used her ship's emergency systems to seal the worst breaches, then apparently went outside in a pressure suit to make manual repairs on damage her ship could not reach. Fit pulled up her video feed. There she was, magnetic boots keeping her attached to the hull, working with tools that looked too big for her hands, welding plates over holes while space tried its best to kill her. She is patching a Class 4 breach with basic welding equipment, Phipps said, disbelief clear in his voice. That should require a specialized repair team and at least 6 hours of work. How long has she been at it? 40 minutes? She is almost done. When the Council patrol finally arrived, they found the Mercy Run fully repaired and ready to limp to the nearest station. They also found 3 heavily damaged attack craft drifting in space, their crews alive but thoroughly defeated, and 1 hidden ship with a completely destroyed engine. The patrol commander, a decorated Thalasian veteran named Crix, demanded to speak with whoever was responsible. I patched him through to Captain Voss. This is Commander Crix of the Council Defense Fleet. I am looking at a combat zone that appears to have been resolved by a single freighter. Would someone like to explain what happened here? Captain Voss's voice came through tired but steady. Transport was under attack. I assisted. The attackers withdrew. No one died. End of report. There was a long pause. Captain, the tactical data I am seeing suggests you took on 7 hostile craft single-handedly and won. That is not assistance. That is a military operation. Then it is a good thing I used to be military. Another pause. I am reviewing your service record now. Special operations. Multiple commendations. Classified missions. Captain Voss. What are you doing hauling freight? Seemed like a nice change of pace. I could hear the smile in her voice. Commander Crix sighed, the universal sound of someone dealing with paperwork they did not want to do. I need you to come to Kessler Station to file a formal report, and probably to receive a commendation. The Council takes attacks on refugee transports very seriously. I will be there in 2 hours. True to her word, the brass Phoenix docked at Kessler Station exactly 2 hours later. This time when Captain Voss walked through the concourse. The reaction was different. Yes, people still moved out of her way. Yes, the prey species still looked nervous. But there was something else now. Respect. The Quilnari merchant who had hidden under his stall last time actually waved at her. A group of Trelaxian dockworkers stopped what they were doing and nodded as she passed. Even the Brolax apex predator dipped his head slightly in acknowledgement. She had proven herself, not just as a predator, but as a protector. I met her at the security station. She looked tired with dark circles under her eyes and grease stains on her flight suit. Captain Voss, welcome back. Chief Warren. Nice to see you again. Wish it was under better circumstances. You saved over 200 lives today. Just doing what needed to be done. Right. Just like last time. She smiled that slight smile. I seem to have a habit of being in the wrong place at the right time, or the right place at the right time depending on how you look at it. Commander Crix arrived shortly after, along with a small delegation from the Council. They conducted interviews, reviewed tactical data, and generally made a lot of fuss. The whole time, Captain Voss answered questions with minimal detail, deflecting praise and making the whole thing sound routine. It was not routine. What she did was extraordinary, but she would not admit it. Finally, after about 3 hours of bureaucracy, Commander Crix presented her with a formal commendation from the Galactic Council. It was a nice medallion, fancy scroll work, the whole ceremonial package. She accepted it politely, thanked him, and then tried to leave. "Captain Voss," Crix called after her, "the Council could use someone with your skills. We have openings in our defense fleet. The pay is excellent, the benefits are comprehensive, and you would be doing important work." She stopped, considered it for a moment, then shook her head. "Appreciate the offer, Commander, but I am happy doing what I am doing. Hauling freight, among other things." He looked like he wanted to argue, but something in her expression stopped him. He nodded and let her go. "I found her later in the observation lounge." "Of course I did. That seemed to be her spot." "You know," I said, sitting down beside her, "you are developing a reputation." "What kind of reputation?" "The kind where people hear a human is coming and they either run away or breathe a sigh of relief, depending on whether they are planning trouble." She laughed softly. "That sounds exhausting." "It is your own fault. You keep doing heroic things. I keep being in situations where someone needs help and I have the ability to help. That is not heroic. That is just basic decency." Most species would disagree. Most would put their own safety first. She took a sip of her drink. Still that bitter, burnt plant smell. Coffee, she had called it once. Humans have a saying, "The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing." I have spent too much of my life doing things I am not proud of, following orders that got people killed, making decisions that haunt me. If I can do something good now, something that actually matters, I am going to do it. Even if it gets you killed? Especially then. At least it would mean something. I did not know what to say to that. The weight in her voice suggested old pain, old regrets, things that no commendation or medal could fix. We sat in silence for a while, watching the stars. "How long are you staying this time?" I asked eventually. "A few days. My ship took some damage in the fight. Nothing major, but I need to make repairs before I take another contract." "Where are you headed after that?" "Rimward. There is a colony that needs construction supplies. Not exciting work, but it pays. It is never just about the cargo with you, is it?" She glanced at me and there was understanding in her eyes. "The cargo is what gets me there. What I do when I arrive, that is up to the situation." Over the next 3 days, Captain Voss became a fixture on the station. She worked on her ship during the day, methodically repairing damage and upgrading systems. In the evenings, she made the rounds. She taught Phipps some basic self-defense techniques. Nothing fancy, just simple moves that could save his life if things went bad. He was terrified at first, but by the 3rd session he was actually enjoying himself. She spent an afternoon at the medical bay talking to Dr. Helix about field medicine and trauma care. Apparently she had been a combat medic before becoming special operations. The doctor was impressed enough to offer her a job on the She declined, of course. She even stopped by the noodle stand every night. The Pex couple started preparing her order before she arrived, and they always included extra vegetables because she mentioned once that she missed fresh food. On her last evening there was an incident at the station bar. A group of mercenaries, drunk and aggressive, started harassing a family of Quelnari refugees. The situation was escalating fast, and my security team was on the other side of the station dealing with an unrelated problem. Captain Voss was there within minutes. She did not fight anyone, did not need to. She just walked into the bar, positioned herself between the mercenaries and the family, and stood there, silent, watching. The lead mercenary, a Vaxian with more muscles than sense, tried to intimidate her. He loomed over her, using his size advantage, making threats. She did not move, did not blink, just looked at him with those forward-facing predator eyes. He broke first. They always did. The mercenaries left. The Quelnari family was safe. And Captain Voss went back to her drink like nothing happened. By the time my team arrived, it was over. "You really do have a gift for being exactly where you are needed," I said when I found her later. "Or maybe trouble just follows me around. Maybe. But I think you go looking for it." She did not deny it. The morning she left, half the station came to see her off. Not formally, not making a big deal about it. Just happening to be in the concourse when she walked through. The culinary merchant gave her a small gift. A carved figurine of a human warrior. The Pex couple from the noodle stand gave her enough packaged meals to last a month. Dr. Helix gave her an upgraded medical kit. She accepted everything with grace and genuine gratitude. At the docking bay, I helped her carry supplies onto the brass Phoenix. The interior was clean but lived in. Personal touches everywhere. Photos on the walls, human textbooks scattered around. A guitar secured in one corner. "You play?" I asked, gesturing to the instrument. "Used to. Not much time lately. Maybe you should make time." She smiled. "Maybe." We stood at the airlock for a moment, neither of us quite ready to say goodbye. "You are going to do this again, are not you?" I asked. "Find someone in trouble. Put yourself in danger. Save the day, probably. You are going to get yourself killed eventually. Also probably. And nothing I say will change your mind. Nothing anyone says will change my mind. This is who I am, Chief. For better or worse." I extended one of my hands. She shook it firmly, her grip strong for someone so much smaller. "Try to stay alive, Captain. The galaxy needs more people like you. The galaxy needs more people like you too, Chief. People who care about keeping others safe. People who do the right thing even when it is hard. I learned that from you. You knew it before we met. I just reminded you." The brass Phoenix departed an hour later. I watched from the observation deck, same as last time. Phip was there too, along with a dozen other station personnel. "Think she will come back?" Phip asked. "I hope so. But even if she does not, I think we will hear about her. People like Captain Voss do not stay quiet for long. They make waves wherever they go." 2 weeks later, we got news that a human freighter captain had stopped a slave trading ring in the outer reaches. Single-handedly infiltrated their operation, freed 47 prisoners and turned the slavers over to council authorities. The captain's name was not released. But I knew, of course I knew. A month after that, reports came in about a human who had negotiated peace between two warring colonies, using nothing but patience and the implicit threat that if they did not stop fighting, she would make them stop. It worked. 3 months later, a plague ship was saved from certain destruction by a human freighter captain who towed it to safety despite the risk of contamination. Every time it was her. I was certain of it. The galaxy was a big place, full of dangers and conflicts and suffering. But it was also full of people like Captain Jade Voss, who chose to fight back against the darkness, who chose to help when they could have walked away, who proved that being an apex predator was not about having the biggest teeth, but about choosing when and how to use them, and sometimes that meant protecting those who could not protect themselves. 6 months after her last visit, I got a message, short and simple. "Hey Chief. Still alive, still finding trouble. How are the noodles?" I smiled and sent a reply. "Noodles are good. Station is quiet. Try not to start any wars." Her response came 3 days later. "No promises." That was 4 months ago. I have not heard from her since. But I keep an eye on the news feeds, watching for reports of a human freighter captain doing impossible things. And every time I see one, I allow myself a moment of pride, because I knew her. I helped her in my own small way. And maybe, just maybe, she helped me understand something important. That the line between predator and protector is not about species or biology. It is about choice. About deciding what kind of person you want to be, and then having the courage to live that choice every single day, no matter what it costs. Captain Jade Voss chose to be a protector, and the galaxy was better for it. As for me, I am still here on Kessler Station, doing my job, keeping people safe. It is not glamorous work. I do not get medals or commendations. But I like to think I learned something from that human with the predator eyes and the protective instincts. I learned that sometimes the best thing you can do is be there when people need you. And that is enough. The station is quiet tonight. The stars are bright outside my window. Somewhere out there, Captain Jade Voss is probably getting into trouble saving lives and being far too modest about it. And I am here, grateful that the universe has people like her in it. Even if they do terrify everyone they meet, especially because they terrify everyone they meet. Because that terror means they have power. And the fact that they use that power to protect instead of harm, that is what makes them truly dangerous. To evil, to injustice, to anyone who thinks the weak are easy prey, Captain Jade Voss proved something important during her time on my station. She proved that humanity, despite being newcomers to the galactic community, despite being from a death world that should have killed them 1,000 times over, despite being apex predators with forward-facing eyes and persistence hunting instincts, she proved that humans could be trusted, not because they were harmless, but because they chose to do good with the harm they were capable of. And that choice, that simple, powerful choice, changed everything. For me, for this station, for everyone she encountered. I look forward to her next visit, whenever that might be, because stations like mine, galaxies like ours, we need people like Captain Jade Voss. We need protectors who are also predators. We need humans.